Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Michael hits a dangerous roadblock in Billy's two obstacles. Michael Baldwin encounters a perilous roadblock, while Billy Abbott will encounter two retribution challenges. Let's talk about all the animosity that lies ahead as some heated moments are about to occur in Genoa City. First, Billy's attempts to exact revenge on Kane Ashby would encounter a few obstacles. These two obstacles will be Diane Jenkins Abbott and Jack Abbott, who will work to prevent Billy from going too far. Billy has a tendency to act recklessly and impulsively when he is in retribution mode. On Wednesday's broadcast, Diane and Jack will try to calm Billy down and encourage him to think more clearly about this. Naturally, if Billy thinks Jack and Diane are getting in his way, he can become irritated. It's obvious that Billy has completely turned against Kane at this point, and if Jack doesn't assist, he might promise to take Kane down himself. But in the upcoming episodes, Jack will be able to trick Kane a few times. One of those might be forming a partnership with Victor Newman, but Billy might not be thrilled with that idea. Meanwhile, Audra Charles will continue to irritate Kyle Abbott. The tension between Audra and Kyle will intensify as they continue to taunt and threaten each other. According to other YNR teasers, Michael will be forced into a challenging situation. The reason for this is because Lauren Fenmore Baldwin will confront Michael about her suspicions and demand to know if Victor has brought him back into trouble. It appears that Michael could have to acknowledge that he is involved in a new plot with Victor. After accepting Kane's offer of employment, Michael is now informing Victor of any important information he discovers. Michael's updates will infuriate Lauren, who will ultimately make the decision to act dramatically. Would Lauren go so far as to tell Kane everything and ruin Victor's cunning scheme in the process? The reasons Jack shouldn't assist Billy. Billy discovered a fresh means of retaliation. However, Jack should not fall for the trick. Victoria is concerned about Billy, Jack informed Diane in Monday's program. Can you guess who enters the room? Jack's sibling. He overheard them talking about him because, thanks to his girlfriend Sally, who expressed her worries, he's a popular topic. Billy had been drinking, and Jack knew it. Billy had a bargain for him, but he urged him to go home. He acknowledged that Diane was correct and that he no longer wanted to fight. Billy left Jack behind. Jack pulled funds from Abbott Communications because he didn't want to interact with him. Billy now seeks Jack's assistance. He understood that it was not his family but Kane who was the issue. But Billy, it's too late. When he cut ties and decided to work with Kane, he had already made up his mind. Billy shouldn't get Jack to stop Kane. He ought to let his sibling handle his own problems. Jack ought not to assist Billy. He ought to kick his brother out of the house in the same manner as he treated him. Billy wants Jack to stay out of his affairs until he is in need of him. In this relationship, Billy is in charge. He will eventually consider Jack to be his brother. He doesn't the next time. Jack needs to take command and cut Billy off from his life. Jack and Billy working together would be too risky. He made every effort to assist him and speak with him, but it's obvious that Billy is still very far away. The tension in Genoa City has reached a boiling point, and as the week unfolds, the drama surrounding Michael Baldwin and Billy Abbott begins to spiral in directions that no one could have predicted, because Michael, a man who has always tried to balance his legal brilliance with his complicated personal life, is suddenly facing a dangerous roadblock that could not only derail his loyalty to Victor Newman but also fracture his marriage to Lauren Fenmore Baldwin in ways that may never be fully repaired, while across town Billy Abbott, who has been riding the razor's edge of vengeance for months, finds himself grappling with two serious obstacles that threaten to crush his retribution campaign against Kane Ashby before it ever truly gains momentum, the first obstacle being none other than Diane Jenkins Abbott, who has taken on the unexpected role of voice of reason in the Abbott household, reminding Billy of the pitfalls of letting hatred consume his every waking moment, while the second obstacle, Jack Abbott, his older brother who has been down this road of family feuds and vendettas too many times to count, steps in to remind Billy that the Abbott legacy cannot withstand another self-destructive spiral, especially one fueled by Billy's reckless desire to punish Kane no matter the cost, and though Billy insists that his quest for justice is righteous, both Diane and Jack see the dangerous glimmer in his eyes that speaks to the impulsive man within, the one who acts first and thinks later. And when Wednesday's broadcast reveals Diane and Jack attempting to calm him down, the sparks fly because Billy does not want to be told to slow down, he does not want to be told to let go, he wants Kane to pay and he wants it now. So when Jack and Diane attempt to redirect his focus, Billy interprets their concern as interference, as betrayal, as another reason to cut himself off from the family he claims to both need and resent, but the truth is that Billy has already mentally declared war. And if Jack doesn't step up to help him, Billy has no qualms about declaring that he will take Kane down single-handedly, though the irony is that Jack may indeed be orchestrating his own countermeasures by working behind the scenes to manipulate Kane into mistakes, even possibly aligning with Victor Newman of all people to box Kane into a corner, an idea that would horrify Billy. Because the notion of Jack and Victor forming a temporary partnership reeks of betrayal in Billy's mind, yet in Jack's calculating brain, it might be the only way to neutralize both Kane and his out-of-control brother, while elsewhere Audra Charles continues to play her dangerous cat-and-mouse games with Kyle Abbott, pushing his buttons with a precision that borders on cruelty, smirking at every flare of frustration in his voice, taunting him with promises and threats that blur the line between desire and disdain, creating a tension so thick that it threatens to snap, and as Audra's provocations build, Kyle's patience unravels, leaving him susceptible to making rash decisions that could haunt him, but the storm brewing with Kyle and Audra pales in comparison to the labyrinth that Michael Baldwin has stumbled into, because his carefully balanced life begins to unravel when Lauren, who has always been able to read her husband with chilling accuracy, confronts him directly about her suspicions that Victor Newman has once again entangled Michael in one of his shadowy plots, and though Michael tries at first to deflect, Lauren's pointed questions cut too deeply, forcing Michael to face the possibility that his attempts at secrecy are futile, because the truth is that Michael has indeed been playing a dangerous double game, having accepted Kane's offer of employment but simultaneously funneling crucial information back to Victor, believing that he can manage both sides without burning down his marriage or reputation. Yet Lauren's fury at his deception is volcanic, leaving Michael cornered, forced to either admit to his duplicity or spin another lie that will only deepen the abyss between them. And when Lauren realizes that her husband's allegiance to Victor has not wavered despite years of turmoil, she is left to contemplate a choice of her own, whether to stand by a man who repeatedly puts Newman's schemes above his family or whether to take a shocking step of her own by feeding Kane every ounce of information she has gathered, blowing Victor's machinations apart and potentially severing Michael's ties to power forever. And as this possibility lingers in the air, the question arises, will Lauren's desperate need to protect her husband from himself drive her to betrayal, or will she bite her tongue and allow Michael to continue playing with fire, risking not only his career but his marriage, his reputation, and his freedom? And as the threads of these stories intertwine, one truth becomes clear, that the Abbott family's struggle over Billy's reckless vengeance and Michael's crumbling marriage under Victor's shadow are not isolated battles, but rather interconnected storms that threaten to rip apart Genoa City's fragile balance of power, because Jack, who already feels the burden of keeping his family intact, may soon find himself forced to choose between loyalty to his volatile brother and pragmatic alliances with dangerous men like Victor. While Billy, unable to see past his rage, grows more and more alienated from the very family he claims to need, his addiction to revenge echoing the same destructive patterns that once cost him everything, and Michael, standing at a crossroads, must decide whether he will continue to serve Victor's insatiable hunger for control or finally break free from the Newman orbit before Lauren makes the choice for him, perhaps in a way that will shock the entire city, because as the days ahead unfold, the reasons why Jack should not assist Billy become clearer and clearer, since Jack knows from painful experience that enabling his brother only leads to chaos, that every time he steps in to save Billy, the gratitude fades and resentment replaces it, leaving Jack carrying the weight of blame for decisions he never truly made. And now with Billy spiraling once again, with his drinking habits resurfacing, with his volatility growing more dangerous by the day, Jack faces the painful realization that perhaps the only way to save his brother is to step away, to let him crash, to refuse to be manipulated into another cycle of enablement, and Diane's warnings only reinforce this stance, because as she reminds Jack, Billy will never learn responsibility if everyone around him keeps cushioning his falls, yet the heartbreak for Jack lies in the truth that family bonds are not easily severed, and while he tells himself that he must cut Billy off, that he must treat him as he would a stranger who has wronged him, the instinct to protect never fully dies, leaving Jack caught between duty and self-preservation, between love and resentment, and as Billy lashes out, claiming that his family never truly supports him, Jack knows deep down that no matter what he does, Billy will always see himself as the wronged party, never acknowledging the lifelines thrown his way, so perhaps this time Jack must take a different route. Perhaps this time Jack must let Billy destroy his own vendetta, even if it means watching his brother fall apart, because Jack cannot afford to sacrifice the Abbott legacy, Diane cannot afford to watch her husband crumble under his brother's chaos, and Lauren cannot afford to lose Michael to Victor's web of deceit, so the stakes are higher than ever, the lines are drawn deeper than ever, and as Genoa City braces for the fallout, one undeniable truth emerges: no matter who wins or loses, the scars left behind from Michael's roadblock, Billy's obstacles, and the choices of the Abbotts will shape the destiny of the families forever, ensuring that nothing will ever be the same again. The storm clouds over Genoa City refuse to part, and the entanglements between Michael Baldwin's secretive allegiance to Victor Newman and Billy Abbott's spiraling crusade against Kane Ashby grow ever more dangerous, because as Lauren struggles with the shocking realization that her husband has once again been pulled into Victor's orbit, she finds herself pacing the walls of her penthouse, her mind racing with visions of Michael lying to her, Michael choosing Victor over their marriage, Michael destroying everything they built together, and while she wants to believe in the man she married, the man who once promised her honesty above all else, she cannot deny the tightening in her chest every time she imagines Victor's cold eyes watching over Michael like a puppet master tugging invisible strings, and that fear festers into suspicion. That suspicion festers into anger, and that anger festers into resolve, leading Lauren to a terrifying thought: what if the only way to save Michael is to betray him, to break his trust before he can destroy their family, to go to Kane Ashby herself and expose the dangerous game Michael has been playing in secret, because if Kane knew that Victor had a spy feeding him intel, then perhaps the entire plot could collapse before Michael loses himself completely, but Lauren's heart aches at the thought, because to betray Michael is to risk losing him forever. And yet, is that risk worse than watching him sink deeper into Victor's grasp, the same grasp that has destroyed countless lives before him, while across town Billy Abbott, blind with fury, continues to pound the metaphorical walls around him, furious that Jack and Diane dare to restrain him, furious that his own brother thinks he can be the judge of what Billy is capable of, and though Jack pleads with Billy to see reason, to stop drinking, to stop letting his hatred for Kane consume him, Billy only hears condescension, only hears the echo of a lifetime of Jack stepping in to fix him, only hears another Abbott family intervention that ends with him being labeled the black sheep once again, and the rage that builds within him feels like fire crawling up his spine, making him lash out at everyone, even the people who want to help him. But what Billy does not realize is that Jack, in a desperate bid to contain the chaos, has already begun weaving his own secret web with Victor Newman, swallowing his pride in order to form a strategic partnership that could neutralize Kane before Billy drags the Abbott name through the mud, though Jack's decision comes with its own peril, because aligning with Victor Newman is like making a deal with the devil, and though Jack convinces himself that he can control the terms, deep down he knows that Victor plays chess while everyone else plays checkers, and that no one who shakes Victor's hand ever walks away unscathed, yet Jack feels he has no choice, because protecting his family means protecting their company, and protecting their company means preventing Billy from burning it to the ground in his reckless pursuit of revenge, so Jack begins to move carefully, sending out feelers, making subtle offers, planting the seeds of a possible deal with Victor, all while pretending to Billy that he is doing nothing at all, but Billy, never one to trust easily, senses something is off, senses that Jack is holding back, senses that once again the world is conspiring against him, and that paranoia fuels him to seek new methods of retaliation against Kane, methods that could backfire spectacularly, because when Billy is in retribution mode, the line between strategy and self-destruction blurs until there is no line left at all, and Diane, caught in the middle, finds herself watching with a mixture of fear and pity as her husband tries to save his brother. knowing full well that Billy doesn't want to be saved, that Billy thrives on the chaos he creates, that Billy has built an identity out of being the wounded rebel who lashes out at the world, and Diane whispers to Jack late at night that maybe, just maybe, the best thing they can do is step back, let Billy learn the hard way, but Jack, his heart too big and his guilt too heavy, cannot bring himself to sever ties completely, even as he knows that Diane may be right, and while this family turmoil brews, Michael finds himself trapped in his own web, sitting across from Victor Newman in his office, the weight of his lies heavy on his shoulders, as Victor, with his signature smirk, reminds Michael that loyalty is everything, that weakness is not tolerated, that if Michael dares to betray him, the consequences will be dire, and Michael, torn between his devotion to his wife and his fear of crossing Victor, nods reluctantly, even as he feels his marriage slipping away from him like sand through his fingers, and when he goes home to Lauren, her eyes piercing him like daggers, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak, Michael realizes that he may have already lost her, because Lauren, unable to stomach another round of half-truths and evasions, tells him point-blank that she will not stand by and watch him destroy their lives for Victor Newman, that she will take action if he does not stop. And though Michael pleads with her to understand, though he swears that he is doing all of this for their future, Lauren shakes her head, knowing that every word he speaks is a justification, a rationalization, a slippery slope to ruin, and in the privacy of her thoughts she begins to plot. She begins to wonder what would happen if she went to Kane, if she handed him the truth on a silver platter, if she became the very person to destroy Victor's plan, even if it means betraying her husband. And as she wrestles with this decision, the irony becomes clear. Lauren may have to commit the very sin she accuses Michael of, betraying him in order to save him, and in that cruel twist lies the heart of this unfolding saga, because trust, loyalty, betrayal, and family are colliding on all fronts, with Billy spiraling, Jack scheming, Michael deceiving, Lauren wavering, and Victor pulling strings from the shadows, ensuring that no matter which path these characters choose, the fallout will be catastrophic, and Genoa City will never be the same again, because in this dangerous game of secrets and vendettas, the road ahead is not just rocky, it is a minefield, and one wrong step could blow everything to pieces. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin had never imagined that her marriage, once the strongest pillar in her life, would become the battlefield where love and loyalty clashed so violently, yet as the nights grew longer and the distance between her and Michael widened, she could no longer ignore the gnawing suspicion that her husband's heart and mind belonged less to her and more to Victor Newman's shadowy empire. And the realization made her stomach churn with equal parts anger and sorrow, because Lauren had fought too hard for her happiness to allow it to slip away in a haze of secrets and manipulations, so with every quiet glance across the dinner table, with every half-hearted smile Michael offered, she felt the walls of her resolve harden. Until one night, after pacing her penthouse with tears stinging her eyes, she whispered to herself that she would not stand idle, she would not let her husband's obsession destroy them, and that whisper became a plan, fragile at first but growing stronger with each passing hour, until the unthinkable became the only choice. She would go to Kane Ashby, she would expose Michael's dangerous double life. She would burn down Victor's scheme before it swallowed the man she loved whole, and though the thought of betraying Michael tore at her heart, she reasoned with herself that it was not truly betrayal but salvation, a desperate act of love that might one day be forgiven. Yet even as she rehearsed what she might say to Kane, her hands trembling at the idea of revealing such explosive information, Lauren knew the danger she was courting, because to cross Victor Newman was to invite a storm that could shatter her entire world. And if Victor ever discovered that she had sabotaged him, his wrath would be merciless, and Michael, who even now defended Victor as if the man were some kind of twisted savior, might never forgive her either. But Lauren's resolve did not waver, because the alternative, to sit back and do nothing while her marriage unraveled and her husband sank deeper into corruption, was no longer bearable, so she prepared herself for the inevitable confrontation, all while Michael, blind to the storm brewing within his wife, continued to juggle his dangerous balancing act, meeting with Victor in hushed tones, passing along scraps of information, convincing himself that he could play both sides without consequence, never realizing that the woman he trusted most was on the verge of pulling the entire house of cards down around him. And as the week marched on, Lauren found herself standing outside Kane's door one evening, her heart pounding in her chest, the weight of her decision pressing down like a physical force, and for a long moment she considered turning back, considered swallowing her fear and retreating to the safety of denial, but then she remembered the haunted look in Michael's eyes when he tried to explain himself, the lies layered upon lies, the way Victor's name seemed to hang between them like a curse, and Lauren knew she had no choice, so with a deep breath she raised her hand and knocked, unaware that this single decision would ignite a chain reaction of betrayal, revelation, and revenge that would ripple through Genoa City in ways she could never have foreseen.